Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Emily and today I have my March wrap-up. So, remember my March TBR video where I was like really excited to read all these girl power books and I was really intentional about building my TBR, and these were all of the books that I selected? These are all of the books that I read from that list. I was not good about sticking to my TBR this month. However, that's not to say I had a bad reading month. I read 5, almost 6 books throughout the course of the month, so I'm really proud of that. I read some good books, but I just was never really in the mood to pick up some of the books that I had on my list, so I veered from the path a little bit. And in that video, I bragged about how well my TBRs had been working out, so we're just a whole bunch of contradictions on this channel. Let's dive into the books that I actually managed to read this month. The first one I read was City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. So like I've mentioned, I think in a couple of videos at this point, I haven't read the Mortal Instruments series yet, but I did manage to pick up City of Bones this month. I feel like I read this ages ago, and I'm having a hard time totally recalling my thoughts. I did write a blog post on all of these books that I'm going to mention, so I'll leave them linked down below. This book follows our main character, Clary Frey, who one night witnesses some shadow hunters kill a demon. She has no idea this is what she's seeing. She suddenly can see shadow hunters who are demon killers, more or less. And one night she sees a group of teenagers drag this other boy into the back of a club and they kill him. She's very confused, very concerned, obviously. But we follow her story as she learns why she can suddenly see these demon hunters, and we kind of get introduced to the world as she does. It's a really interesting story. I'm very intrigued by it. It was a great first book to a series. Overall, I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars, and I'm definitely hoping to read the rest soon. So while I was on vacation, I brought 2 ebooks to read. I next read Dear Martin by Nick Stone. This book is so good. So good. I went on vacation to Miami to visit a college friend recently, and I started reading this book right before I got on the plane and genuinely did not stop except to board the plane. And I managed to finish it before we even landed. Still had time to watch an episode of Queer Eye after I finished it, so it's a really, really quick read, but it is so powerful. This follows Justice, our main character, who is a senior and one of the only black students at his fancy private boarding school. One night, he's trying to help his ex-girlfriend get home so that she doesn't drive drunk, and while he's trying to put her in the back of her car to take her home, a cop pulls up and arrests him, puts him in handcuffs because he thinks he's doing something wrong, mostly just because he's a black man with a hoodie. And I mean, his ex-girlfriend is unconscious and he's putting her in the car. So it does look a little suspicious. However, Justice states over and over what he was doing. The cop doesn't care, puts him in handcuffs, and takes him to the police station. After these events, he decides to start this project called Be Like Martin. Essentially, he wants to study the works of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and sort of emulate who he was as a person and do what Martin would do. In his high school, he faces a lot of racism and just stereotypes from other students, and even people from his hometown who, see him as this person who's trying to leave his black community behind, whereas some of the students at his high school are shocked that, he gets a 33 on the ACT or whatever because black kids can't be smart. It deals a lot with racism and expectations, interracial couples, police brutality is a big one. It's a very emotional read. It also has a lot to do with friendship and loyalty and all of that, and I genuinely cannot recommend this enough. My only complaint about this book is that it didn't dive enough into his research of Martin Luther King Jr. We do also get some chapters where Justice is writing to Martin Luther King Jr. and sort of just processing events. So that's where we get the Dear Martin title. I really liked the different narrative structures that Nick Stone used. I thought it was really engaging, and overall, this book is so good. I highly recommend it. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars, and if you haven't already, I definitely recommend it, especially if you loved The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas. Okay, and the next book I downloaded for my trip to Miami was a quintessential beach read in my mind. I read The Hypnotist's Love Story by Leanne Moriarty. At the end of this last summer, I watched and loved the HBO series Big Little Lies, immediately read The Husband's Secret after I finished it because I thought it was so good. Loved that book. The mystery kept me on the edge of my seat, and I totally didn't see the ending coming. The Hypnotist Love Story is not that kind of book. I don't know why I thought that. So this book follows hypnotherapist Ellen O'Farrell as she starts a new relationship with a man named Patrick. She really likes Patrick. She's had some serious relationships in her past that obviously didn't work out very well, but she has a really, really good feeling about Patrick. One night, he tells her that he has a stalker, and I was excited for another book like that. So Staskia is Patrick's ex-girlfriend who he dated right after his first wife died. He has a 7-year-old son, and when he was dating Staskia, she was kind of like a second mom to him. She raised him more or less from the time he was a toddler until he started preschool or kindergarten. She obviously didn't take the breakup very well. So Ellen is concerned but mostly intrigued by this new development. What she doesn't know is she's already met Staskia. She's posing as one of her hypnotherapy patients, which seems like the start of a dramatic mystery story, I might add. And we get little clues as to who she is, sort of, just mentions of when she went to see Ellen and when she tails Patrick. It's a cool way to go about the mystery. But you find out who Staskia is like pretty early on. Like, it's not a mystery. I would say like less than halfway. I was a little bummed about that. I thought we were going to go through the whole book kind of trying to figure out which patient was Staskia and all of that. But Ellen finds out, and then it's more of just a drama following Ellen and Patrick and Staskia as their relationship progresses and as Staskia becomes more anxious about all of this. So overall, I gave it 3 stars. I liked it. It was a good story. I think the only thing that kept me from liking it more was just that it wasn't what I was expecting, which is my own fault. I should have just looked at the genre list on Goodreads and that would have pointed me in the right direction, but... Alright, the next book that I read was one that I actually hauled in my most recent video, and that is Every Heart a Doorway by Seanan McGuire. So this is a tiny book. I read this in no time. This was the month of like quick reads for me. This book is super intriguing. So it's a little novella, but it is a full-on story. The Home for Wayward Children is a boarding school for children who have recently traveled to like other worlds, other dimensions basically, and are now back in our world having a really difficult time adjusting. It's kind of like Alice in Wonderland or Narnia. So Nancy went to the land of the dead, which is a little creepy, and is now back in the real world and starts at Eleanor West's Home for Wayward Children. It's a little bit of a mystery, it's dark, it's creepy, it's really whimsical in some ways, and I just thought it was so well done. I can't believe how much is covered in this book. The characters are really diverse, which I think is awesome. Nancy is asexual, we have a student who is trans, and just in general we have a lot of different personalities and, I mean, different worlds that they've traveled to, which are also really intriguing. I definitely recommend picking this up. If you don't like creepy things, like this is pretty creepy. It's a little gruesome in some instances, but yeah, you would never expect it from the book cover, but yeah, it's super good. I am really dying to pick up the sequel soon, and I gave this book a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I also finished up an audiobook this month. I listened to The Subtle Knife by Philip Pullman. This is the sequel to The Golden Compass and the middle book in the His Dark Materials trilogy. It is the sequel, so I won't dive into a plot synopsis just because there are some spoilers, probably, but it ends right where the Golden Compass leaves off. It was a little bit slower for me. I had a little harder time staying engaged with it, but I still really enjoyed it, and I'm excited to listen to the last one. The best part about these audiobooks is that every character has a different voice actor, which just makes it really dynamic and keeps you engaged. It's a lot of fun to listen to, so I love listening to these as audiobooks. I started The Golden Compass a long time ago and just never made it all the way through, so this was a great way to check off a series that I've been dying to read. I ended up giving this one 3 out of 5 stars. Okay, and last but not least is a book that I am currently reading, sort of. This is First Women, The Grace and Power of America's Modern First Ladies by Kate Andersen Brower. I haven't finished this. I am almost halfway through. I am not liking it, to be completely honest. I was really excited. I found this for super cheap when I was in Miami, and I was like, I've been dying to read this book. I just don't know much about the first ladies and was excited to see an entire book devoted to them. But it reads kind of like gossip or something. It's mostly just talking about how they're all devoted to their husbands. Like, that's the biggest theme. I think the other reason that I really don't like it is I love Michelle Obama. I think she is an incredible woman. She was a great first lady. She's just badass on her own, and I don't know, just like a phenomenal woman. Like, great arms also. The only thing she writes about her is that she never wanted to be first lady, and kind of like complains about that more. Like, I don't know, it's just a weird commentary on Michelle Obama. There's so much to talk about with her, but that's really all that we get. There's also a weird section that felt like it was trying to make me feel bad for Richard Nixon, which I've got no interest in that personally. And I don't know, maybe it was just trying to make me feel bad for Pat Nixon, which fair. I don't know, I just can't figure this book out. I told myself I have to at least get to 50% and see if it is any better, but I'm gonna at least get to that today and maybe continue with it, but I might just DNF it because I'm disappointed. Does anyone else have any recommendations for books about women in power or leadership or anything like that? Because I was so jazzed, and this just, it's not cutting it. Alright, that is everything for this video. Those are all of the books that I read in March. Overall, not too bad. No 5-star reads this month. Probably 1-star read, but what can you do? By the time this video goes up, I probably will have already posted my April TBR on my blog, so be sure to check out emlikesbooks.com for that blog post. Please feel free to follow me on my social media. The handle is the same for both Twitter and Instagram, so I'll leave that here. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos from me. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it. I enjoyed making it. And until next time, happy reading. Bye.